case you don't know by now, we have a bit of a thing for GT3s. We've had two 997s and two 991s, and as outrageously good as the 991 is, it's the 997 we keep coming back to. It was the same story with the RS models when we pitted the 997, 991 and the latest 992 up against each other. Adam and I at least still came away smitten by the older, less capable, less powerful 997 Gen 1. But why? Is it the hydraulic steering, is it the Metzger engine, or is it simply the fact that the 997 has a good old-fashioned manual gearbox? Thing is though, as much as we love it, we actually wanted something a little more refined than the 997.1 for the mileage we do, while hopefully retaining much of the rawness when it's time to pick up the pace. Well, Porsche has a couple of potential solutions for that first world predicament in the shape of the Gen 2 models. Porsche's aim with Gen 2s is to hold on to what made the Gen 1 great, but iron out anything that could be improved based on customer feedback and their own relentless development. With the hope that a Gen 2 model could be the sweet spot we're looking for, say hello to our latest crew car. A 991.2 GT3 we purchased from the Octane collection and immediately had wrapped in full satin PPF by Invisifilm. Most importantly, it has a 6-speed manual gearbox. But before we get too complacent, our friends at Visac UK have thrown a spanner in the works and said we should try out their well-sorted 997.2 GT3. Have we made the right choice? I think you know what happens next. First off, I should probably remind myself why I love the 997 GT3 so much. Little disclaimer, it might not be entirely fair. This car has been given a good work over by our friends at Visac UK. So it's got an upgraded Porsche active suspension management module, new control arms, Manti hoses, so various little bits, but just things to amplify it ever so slightly, not to truly transform it. They say this is supposed to be like an OEM plus base that if you wanted to take further, you could. But ultimately, and I can tell you this is the case so far, it feels like a 997 GT3. The first thing I noticed getting in, just to start it up, the clutch. It is so heavy. Really have to give it some effort, and the same is true of the shifter as well. Of course, these were manual only, and it's such a feelsome shift where you have to give it some real effort. This has got a lovely aftermarket wooden Porsche 911 gear shifter on it, a bit like a Carrera GT sort of feel. Feels lovely as well. The brakes are so solid, but this car is not about how good the brakes are, how fast it is in a straight line. It is plenty quick in a straight line. 415 horsepower, 3.8 litre Metzger flat 6. Sounds mega. The brakes give you so much confidence, but what it's about is the sound, how involved you are in the drive. The suspension isn't too stiff. The steering is this perfectly weighted hydraulic power steering. When you're coming down the gears, you're on your own. There is no auto blip. There is nothing fake about it. It's so real, so raw. But what it isn't is an out-and-out track car. It isn't punishing. But what we're gonna find out, because it's one of the reasons we went for the 991 instead, is if that car's maybe that little less tiring. It's not punishing, this car. On a really long day, you might get a little tired of the clutch, you might get a bit lazy and want it to blip the down changes for you. It's nice to have Apple CarPlay, but this by no means feels like an old, harsh car at all. But this is on Pilot Sport 4S tyres, so I can have plenty of confidence in the bends. Ours is on Cup 2s, so I'll have to be a little more careful. You also notice this has got the comfort seats, which I think a lot of people frown upon in cars like this, but the most recent 997 GT3 we had and the 991 also had comfort seats, because we do loads of miles. They don't look as great. You know, GT3s just look right with the buckets, but actually, when you're doing the miles that we do and getting in and out all day, these seats hold you in really nicely, and they're so comfortable as well. Admittedly, on days like today where I'm getting in and out of buckets about 50 times, a little tiring, admittedly. So what don't I like so much? Well, it sounds absolutely mega. This is a stock exhaust system, and Weissach do offer some other options, including the likes of a Krapovic and JCR. I would like even more noise because I'm just nuts like that. But it's a lovely natural sound. It is just so nice. I mean, you get a blip right like that. Whoa. If anyone was ever going to criticise a 997 for anything, it would be that it could be prone to a little bit of understeer when you really push. Now, I'm not pushing to that extent today, but when you get on the throttle, you can feel that light front end that sort of just picks up and wanders a little on you. But actually, when you go into a bend, trail brake a bit, the front end bite is awesome. All the power you need on the way out. If we want to get really nitpicky, the steering wheel's probably a bit big. You realise that when you drive it back to back with the 991, which has a smaller wheel, but when a car's that good, you have to nitpick the size of its steering wheel. It's not the end of the world, is it? I just absolutely love these cars. And that 991, if it's going to keep all the things we love about this car, it's going to have to be pretty damn good. So if we love the 997 so much, why this? Why another 991? Well, the hope is that by having this manual gearbox, it gives us most of what we love about the 997, but in a more usable package. Remember, we do loads of miles in these cars. We take them across Europe. We spend a long time, all day driving them sometimes. And the 997 is admittedly quite full on. In this car, you've got a lovely interior trimmed in leather, Apple CarPlay, which is great for us. The clutch is the first thing I'm going to talk about, because when I first got in this car, I pressed the clutch with the amount of force I would in a 997 and my foot just went bam to the floor. The clutch just feels like a normal car, really. And at first that kind of saddened me. I love that heavy clutch in the 997. I love the heavy steering, which again, this is lighter. I'll get to that a bit more later. But whilst it takes away from that sort of raw, proper man's car sort of feeling that the 997 gives you off the bat, if we're driving this thing all day, it just makes it that bit less wearing. Woo! Yeah. I mean, it still sounds mega, doesn't it? So that engine, the Metzger has gone. This is a 4-litre direct injection flat 6. 500 horsepower, and instead of 8,400, it revs all the way to 9,000. And that last 1,000 has such a shriek to it. Performance, it feels like quite a sizable jump in straight line punch. Not that it needed it for me, but this is a quick car now. Plenty of low down grunt, but it is worth ringing it out. Steering, of course, the 997s was just absolute steering perfection, really, but again, it is quite heavy. This is a little bit lighter, electric power steering, but as I've said in some of the other 991, 981 videos recently, by this stage, the early 991s not so much, but by this stage Porsche had nailed electric power steering, it still feels absolutely great. Is it quite like a 997 where it's writhing round in your hands? No. Is it great though? Yes. I don't miss the steering. It is that good in this, honestly. And what I've realised is most of the time you don't use 9,000 RPM, especially in the manual. Maybe you would more in the PDK where you can just pull a paddle and off you go. You can make good progress going to 5,000. You can drive very quickly going to 7 like this. But then if you come out of a hairpin, there's a long straight, there's a car you want to overtake, you just unleash the full 9 and it's like all hell's broken loose. I bet if you got in this car and didn't look at the rev counter, your instinct would tell you to shift at 7. That sounds like where you should shift. It already sounds nuts at 7,000 RPM and then there's another 2 to go. Brakes, this is just on the steel discs. Yeah, they feel great. Great pedal feel, great power. I haven't had them fade on me. And I mentioned in a car I drove with ceramics recently, the Speedster, they can be a little grabby at the top. With these, you get deeper into the pedal and heel and toe like that is so easy. The engine is so responsive, bam, it's the most alert engine. There's just nothing like it to blip. You can put it in sport mode and it will blip for you. I will admit, I'm manly enough to admit that I do it sometimes, but right now when I'm just out for the fun of it, you do it yourself and it's just so rewarding. It's analog, it is still analog. It still does give you so much of what we love about the 997. But I feel like on those long journeys, it'll be less tiring as well. To actually talk about the gearbox itself, if you've watched me review Porsches this generation before, you'll have heard me say the gearbox is perfect. Yeah, it still is. On the way up or down, it just has this great feel to it. The 997 is a super heavy box and I love that. I really like that. You've got to give it a good shove. But again, it takes more effort to drive it. This, you still get the good feel, but it's just that bit easier. And compared to PDK, look, PDK is flawless. It is so, so good. And it does suit this engine. It kind of makes you feel a bit like you're driving a cup car. Hammering the brakes into a corner and just having to go like that is not the same as that. You're so much more busy, so much more involved, and it makes the same car almost a different experience. It makes a car that feels really cutting edge feel quite old school and analog, but you still have the benefits of a modern car. You still have that rear steering, you still have your Apple CarPlay, you still have great brakes. Touch wood, you should have the reliability. I love a car that's hard work, I really do. If I'm just going out on my own and attacking a road, I love a car to be hard work. 997 GT3, V6 Exige, things like that. This is still involving, it really is. But it's not necessarily a workout. And when you're spending a full day driving on challenging roads in the likes of the Alps, I'd be quite grateful for that, to be honest, because you can get a little bit tired when cars are so full on. You can choose with this how full on you want it to be. If you just want to leave it in third gear, you could pretty much do any given road in third gear alone. If I had a couple of little criticisms, and they are like really small, I do prefer the heavy clutch on the 997 for those shorter journeys where you're just driving for the sake of it. It makes it feel that bit more raw, but really when you get going you kind of forget about it, and over a long day you'd probably be grateful for it. The other thing, below 4,000 revs, as was the case on the standard 997 GT3, but kind of even quieter on this, the valves don't open until 4,000 revs. So in first gear, this is probably just me being a bit of a yob, But if you're around town with some walls at the side of you, something like a 981 GT4 just echoes. But in this, the valves are closed and it just sounds sort of like this tappety mechanical engine. I can't believe that more of these are manual. You've lost very little from the 997 experience and gained a more competent car. So does the 997 still have our hearts, or was the 991 just 3 pedals and a stick away from stealing its crown? Well, it's a bit of both. I still love the 997, but a back-to-back drive with the 991 shows just how far Porsche moved the game on in terms of performance and usability without losing more than a few little scraps of character. But the 997 still has an unshakable allure. It has something tangible that numbers just don't explain. It's so pure, and you don't have to go a million miles an hour to have fun. The 991 is a mega involving car, but the speeds can get pretty big pretty quickly on the road if you're not careful, and the chassis is so good that you barely even notice. It really is tough, and they're even at a similar price point, so that doesn't separate them either. I didn't expect this, but I'm going to give the smallest of edges to the 991 for its broader range of abilities and 9,000 RPM madness. The big takeaway from today, though, isn't that verdict. It's the realisation of what a difference a gearbox can make.